U.S. central bankers talk a lot these days. Even their formal statements are almost 6 times longer than they were a decade ago. But there's one thing that Janet Yellen and her Fed cohorts have been dancing around, and it's time that they just say it. To meaningfully raise benchmark borrowing costs, the Fed needs to openly coordinate with other major central banks. In the past, the Fed has never had to coordinate with their peers around the world, other than in times of crisis. But this is a new financial era, where a lack of communication could set off a market tantrum that damages the global and U.S. economies. For that reason, the Fed has been paying more attention to the rest of the world than ever before. After its March meeting, the central banker said that even though the U.S. looked pretty good, global economic and financial developments continue to pose risks. Where are these risks? Well, start with Japan, where people seem happy to pay for the privilege of lending to the government. Then there's China, which can't even reliably quantify its debt. Then there's Europe, which can't seem to jumpstart growth. And, of course, the Brexit vote, or the risk that the UK could exit the European Union. And then there's Brazil, which is stuck in a horrible political crisis and depression. Outside the U.S., nations are pumping as much stimulus into their economies as they can, and sometimes can't afford, to lower their borrowing costs. The result has been that the interest paid by government bonds has fallen to record lows. It has never been cheaper for developed nations to borrow money. This takes us back to the Fed, which is moving in the opposite direction. Clearly, central bankers communicate to some extent, but it would be important for investors, bankers, and economists to have some sense of how frequently these meetings take place. The U.S. can't go it alone anymore. The Fed needs some coordination and support from fellow central bankers. It shouldn't be afraid to just say that.